Thank you for choosing Air Europa. Please take your seats and fasten your seatbelts for takeoff.
We are so excited to be here today. How are you guys feeling tonight? Woo! Awesome. All right, we're going to raise the bar really high, and we hope you can jump over it. Awesome. So we're so excited to talk about opportunities for raising brand awareness for Air Europa in a U.S. market. A market where many consumers have been flying the same airlines since childhood, right? So we knew we would have to start out by asking the obvious question. What would make somebody try a new airline? But there's a bit of a danger in that, because if you ask somebody, what would make you try a new airline, you're going to list features and benefits, but at the end of the day, that's not necessarily what's going to make you make the switch. That's not necessarily what makes you loyal to a brand. So we knew we had to dig even deeper and ask, why travel? What is it about travel that's so compelling that people build entire lifestyles around travel? How can we tap into this wanderlust? But before we did that, we knew we'd have to also find the soul of your brand. So we started out with the golden circle. Most brands know what they do, but they don't know why they do it. So what Air Europa does, Air Europa is a leading international airline. We believe that you can become the international leading airline. How you do it, you guys mentioned in your introduction to us, your commitment to innovation, purchasing state-of-the-art fleet, and expanding your customer care centers. And you've addressed integral touch points of the customer journey. But why? Our focus groups unveiled that a lot of our participants felt that airports were mayhem, that airlines herded them like cattle, and that airplanes were just vessels in the sky. And so this is the opportunity. Be more than just an airline, but be the wonderful beginning of a journey. So with this as our North Star, we set out to define our target market and conduct further research. Without further ado, Sam.
So Air Europa strives to provide an upscale, positive, and innovative experience to each of its consumers. Their goal is to ensure consumer experience is like any other, or unlike any other, Objectives of the situation analysis were to discover a way to increase brand awareness, as well as, in turn, increasing ticket sales and media coverage. So within the situation analysis, we had our main focus be to gain insights as to why people travel, as well as why consumers purchase tickets from your competitors. We identified that the major struggle within the company is the brand awareness and brand recognition, as well as the significantly less travel destinations, as well as it's not the most cost-efficient airline, and the market skepticism for new airlines is not the best. We also identified advantages that you guys have, and one of them is the on-time assurance, therefore providing brand loyalty, as well as the Miles Rewards program with SkyTeam. We went ahead and identified our target market as upwardly mobile, tech-savvy, millennials and Gen X travelers with a household income of $70,000 and an individual income of $40,000 between the ages of 25 and 40. Up next is Alyssa with research.
Hi guys, I'm Alyssa. I'm going to get a little bit closer just because I feel like this stage is a little dangerous because of the graph and the grass. Okay, well, as Samantha has stated, we selected upperly mobile millennials and Gen X travelers. But why did we select them? Well, first of all, they have purchasing power. But apart from them having purchasing power, we still wanted to understand them a little bit better. The key objective of our research was to understand our target audience. We wanted to reach out to them while they're on the high. They are in that new state of transition. They're in that new lifestyle. And because of that, they have that itch to travel more. That's why we selected them. Well, first things first, we conducted our quantitative and qualitative research. Our quantitative research consisted of our online survey from Qualtrics. We had about 198 respondents, in which we picked the best candidate for our focus groups. Our qualitative research we conducted focus groups, which had 21 interviewees. We had 2 quads, 2 triads, 2 diets, and we had 3 one-on-one interviews. This was very essential for us because this put up the path for our campaign. This helped us with our decision on how our campaign was going to be. Apart from that, we also had our expert interview. This was also very good for us. Alberto Real, the CEO of Aerocardar Chile, he helped us with main insights and key points on modern aviation, successful media for campaigns, branding recognition, and he even helped us with marketing. So with all of that being said, I want to mention you guys that our research really managed to surprise us. Our target audience was more interested in the overall value rather than just the cheapest ticket. As you see right over there, these are the top features that our audience decided to pick if they wanted to make that switch. So with that being said, I want to go back to our original question. Why do people travel? We heard repeatedly in our focus groups about their memories. We heard their stories, but we still wanted to know more. We still wanted to go deeper. We wanted to find the universal truth connecting all millennials and Gen X travelers. The answer? Well, they all wanted to feel like a local. Our target audience is craving for that authentic experience. Can you sense the opportunity? Well, why be just an airline when we can be part of their story?
So everybody wants to collect stories, and our target wants to feel like a local when they're traveling abroad, not just to see the tourist destinations. How can we intertwine these 2 insights into a brand awareness campaign? Kind of came pretty naturally. But we also have to keep in mind that our target market is skeptical of traditional advertising. They were inundated as they were growing up. You know, they had television ads, so they had installed TiVo to skip the ads. Now they have ad blockers on their web browsers. Some of them even have mental ad blockers. One of ours actually talked about how one of our focus group participants talked about how she doesn't even reach inside of an airline pocket for like SkyMall because she knows it's all ads and sponsored content. She doesn't even look in the airline pocket, right? She wouldn't even think to do that. So we knew we had to approach them on our own terms. It's not that our target doesn't want to be sold on a brand, it's just that they want to be approached on their own terms, and then they become passionate brand advocates. In some of our focus groups, we had people like ranting and raving about Virgin Airlines and about Iberia and their wonderful chef selected food and how they came out and shook everybody's hand asking how was the food, it was great. So they were ranting and raving about all these different airlines. They just want to be approached on their own terms. So enter Follow Your Story. Follow Your Story is a webisode series of user-submitted short videos of people's travel experiences. This is basically the heart of it all. It's a microsite on your website, okay? It's a landing page. The top voted video every single month, the user who submitted that video would receive a free round trip to any Air Europa destination. Okay, sounds awesome, but why does this work? So let's picture Lauren. She's really bored at work, right? And she sees her friend post, hey, vote for my video. I can get a free round trip to Europe. So Lauren goes and she's like, oh, I wonder what video she submitted. And she takes a look at it. And before you know it, she's looking at bungee jumping in New Zealand and ice flows in Alaska and all these other sorts of wonderful ideas. Best case scenario, she's already thinking about traveling. She clicks the top left-hand corner. She checks out your ticket prices. She books a ticket that day. Worst case scenario, she now has a favorable impression of your brand. So now she's on Kayak, she's on Expedia later on, and she goes, oh, Air Europa was the one that had the really cool user-submitted travel stories. Positive association with your brand, right? And that's how brand awareness can convert quickly into ticket sales.
We imagine our campaign as a cycle, and we have considered tactics for every phase. We asked Devin Supertramp, a popular YouTube vlogger with over 4 million subscribers, for permission to use his travel video in our presentation to substitute a potential submission. We fully expect we will attract not only those looking for a free trip, but rising travel bloggers and YouTube vloggers looking for exposure.
Everybody wants to collect stories, you know? Everybody wants that story. When I travel, I'm constantly asking everybody in that country questions. I only plan one event per day. That's it. If I don't have ideas, I go to a stranger and ask them. I have no idea what to do. What do you recommend? Because for me, travel is the amazing fulfillment of life and learning. When I travel, I'm always learning. You never know what's going to happen. It's why I travel.
The winning video will get a 15 to 30-second spot on TV. Variations will also be used on YouTube and other digital ad media placements such as Instagram and Facebook. And this is our out-of-home print concept. Priscilla will discuss ad buys she has selected for this tactic.
So next we move to the in-airport experience, to our third phase. So here's a really great opportunity because you have a captive audience. They're milling around, they're bored, they're waiting for their plane. So we thought, why not make a VR installation where people can view videos from all around the world, 360 videos, and they can choose between extreme and serene. I couldn't have had better timing with that. So the idea is that a lot of influencers on YouTube, such as Devin Supertramp, for which we did ask permission, would be really excited to host their videos on this because they get the exposure for it. So the content's already there. It's already 4K, it's already HD, it's already great content, it's already 360 setup, beautiful. So then the idea is, well, why not harness that into a VR installation? We also envision a boomerang photo booth where people would be able to take selfies of themselves and have it broadcast on a wall so people can see selfies from all around the world and follow stories that way as well. We now move to the in-flight experience, which you have sitting in front of you for the judges. So the in-flight experience would be a locally catered in-flight experience. So basically you get a taste of where you're going before you've even landed there, right? So the food you have in front of you, we don't know your logistics, but we decided to hone in on Madrid. Now, if that's a little bit too challenging, then you could do the south of Europe, right? But so we decided to do Spanish food, make a small little curated local guide for you, and notice it has no ads, it has no sponsored content, because we want it to be something that travels with the consumer, right? It's something that adds value, that they have now nostalgia with. They have memories with this guide. Oh, I went and I checked out that place, right? Somebody talked about how their Lonely Planet guide is dog-eared. It's like a favorite possession of theirs. So that's their idea for our little local guide there as well. And then finally, we have follow-up. Simple concept. Thank you for flying with us. Please submit your stories online. Without further ado.
Hi, everyone. So for public relations, we've thought about social media. Social media is quickly taking over the world. It's the easiest and most effective means of communication when you want to get the word out there and really get someone to know what you're all about. So what we have done is just chosen social media to be the primary focus for digital marketing. So first and foremost, what we would be doing is creating and establishing Europa social media accounts for here in the United States. And some of the posts that we'd be doing are showcasing some of the stuff that we would also be showcasing on Snapchat. And if you see behind me, you'll see Snapchat markups of the filters that we'd be implementing and setting geographically in the airport areas. So as people are going off and sharing their stories, they can post it all over social media with Europa's filters. Additionally, for social media, what we'd be posting are just general photos of the plane, of guests experiencing themselves on the plane, 360 videos to complement the mini-series, and other events, info regarding events. So some of the events that we've come up with are hands-on experiences where guests can experience what it really is like to fly with Air Europa. We know that you partner with the Dolphins, so we thought, why not create a pop-up lounge within the Dolphin Stadium where guests can actually watch the game either on their entertainment system or live right there on the field and see, hey, like, this is how much the seat reclines and this is how much foot space I'm gonna get. There's nothing the American consumer enjoys more than getting a hands-on feel for what they're gonna be investing their money in. So with advertising events like this, we've come up with a tentative timeline of how we would accomplish this. Aside from sending out press releases, 4 to 6 weeks prior to the event, we'd be creating an online events page and generating communication with people talking about if they're going to be attending the event or not, sending out this flyer throughout the media, and pitching the story to primary media on a guest speaker or maybe even just a preview of the event itself. Roughly 2 weeks, we'd be contacting the media and making follow-up calls to confirm that the correct media is showing up. 2 to 3 business days prior, we'd be resending the flyer and making another round of follow-up calls. Finally, 2 to 3 days prior, the day of the event, we would be preparing the media sign-in sheet with the name and outlet of the media that is attending so that the media liaison can accommodate the media accordingly that arrives, and email a second press release written in the past tense to the entire press list the morning of the event, and also print it out so that they have all the information with them. And if there's enough media, we would also print out a press kit and a brochure as well. Also then, in light of recent events in the airline industry, we've decided the most effective way for customers to have that communication and to guarantee that there is the proper course of action taken in the event of a crisis, we've come up with a media committee. This committee is made up of 3 departments: the communications, the marketing, and the customer relations department. Communications deals with all things posting on social media and creating content and being the written, rapid response to the media in the event that a crisis happens, as well as being the main form of communication within the company. Priscilla will go into further detail regarding marketing, but customer relations is none other than customer service, and who doesn't love to complain to customer service? So customer relations deals with all things requests or complaints that customers have and being the voice of reason as to why your flight was delayed. Also, they would be the ones regarding organizing the press conferences and dealing with damage control.
Thank you, Gabby. We have distributed our media usage strategically so we can not only infiltrate our target market, but also the overall market, ultimately generating brand awareness and raising overall ticket sales. To do so, we have identified 2 objectives: our advertising objective and our marketing objective. For our marketing objective, what we want to do is infiltrate the entire US market to raise our sales, reach at least 50% of our target market and 60% of the overall market, thus turning at least 20% of our activations into actual ticket sales. For our advertisement objectives, what we want to do is not only mimic, but surpass the brand awareness that Air Europa has in Europe, in the US. To do so, we want to reach our target market by at least 80% through sponsored and non-sponsored posts. And finally, we do want to create a frequency of at least 40%, 3 to 4 times a week with initial reach market. Moving forward, we have created a media schedule. Since our target market are millennials and Gen X, we do focus the first part of our campaign in digital market media outlets that include Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, and the microsite. All of this will be used throughout the year and given maintenance as well. Moving forward, because we do want to reach a bit of the general market, we have incorporated traditional media. We have So as they mentioned, we're going to be having a 30-second TV spot that will be aired in May TV stations in the US such as NBC, ABC, Fox, and so on. We will incorporate radio as well. However, we're not gonna focus on traditional radio. We're gonna focus on Spotify because that's the radio outlet that our target market uses the most. We're also gonna incorporate 3 different print outlets. So one of them is gonna be billboards. Those are gonna be placed in main departure areas of selected airports. Why? Because once the customer is there, or potential customer, they're walking, they're seeing it, you're installing that little seat of Air Europa. I saw it, and they start, clicking with our other parts of media. Moving forward, we're gonna be using disruptive media. What is disruptive media? As aforementioned, we're gonna use virtual reality, and we're gonna use the boomerang photo booths. And last, since our campaign is not only aiming for brand recognition, but also product awareness and ticket sales, we are not just gonna use traditional KPIs, which include reach, traffic, and leads. We're also gonna use an ROI, which will analyze how our leads convert to sales, and to do so, we're gonna be using metric data as well as a partnership with Air Europa's sales team. So we can, in fact, measure how our campaign is affecting in a positive manner their sales.
So we concluded that a retainer with a la carte fees for special projects would be the best form of payment. We said that that it would be approximated by the monetary amounts listed here, as well as the hours calculated by approximated levels of effort. So after doing an internal analysis, we went ahead and identified a few of the stakeholders. Some of them, the ones that we're going to cover today, the rest are in the book, are the consumers. Our goal with them is to ensure brand loyalty by providing an authentic experience. We would do this with the dishes that were provided, as well as the virtual reality stands. We also identified the airports as another stakeholder, and our goal with them is to provide an interactive experience for the guests. Our action, would be to place the interactive virtual reality stands. That way the consumers can go ahead and see what they would be, where they would be flying to, We also identified the employees as another stakeholder, and our goal is to increase the staff of understanding of Air Europa's plans and their targets. We would do this by retraining the customer service and updating the website to ensure associate engagement, which would provide a better experience for the consumer. We also identified travel agencies, and our goal with them is to increase exposure from them, as well as through websites like Expedia. And we would do this by increasing SEO and AdWords. And finally, the social media networks were also identified, and our goal would be to increase willingness of the companies to go ahead and partner with Air Europa, therefore providing them with a unique experience.
So I know we were a little short for time today, but if you have any other questions or need any other information, please refer to the book. Some of the refreshments that we provided for them, we also brought for you guys. There's also plates and napkins over there if you would like some, if you're hungry, because I know we're going to be here for a while. But anyways, thank you for having us, and enjoy the rest of your day in sunny South Florida, and thank you for flying Air Europa. Oh, never mind, you have to stay.
Well, first of all, congratulations, excellent job overall. In many of these types of presentations, one of the first things you want to do is talk about the audience or the stakeholders up front. I was surprised that you put the stakeholders at the end. I'm glad you had them in there, right? But sometimes you want to make sure you talk about that early on. So you had your target audience were the millennials or the young people, but then the stakeholders, which have a lot to do also with who you want to communicate with, etc. Quick question. So you had the video on Machu Picchu. Could you have found the video on, I don't know, Seville or Cordoba, or what was the reason for Machu Picchu?
So we went searching actually. Originally we were going to use stock video footage for it, and it was horrible. It was like, no, Okay, so I was like, crazy idea. Let's reach out to a YouTuber and see if he'll let us use our video. So what I did is I went through this particular gentleman's YouTube channel and I found a location that Air Europa flies to according to your Air Europa's destination map. So I did correspond.
Okay, so yeah, no, that answers. So you went looking for something that could...
An influencer.
An influencer that could have an impact on why people travel. Okay, I got it. Okay, for some reason, I got disconnected. I'm thinking of Europe.
You're a leading international airline.
So, you know, see, your mind goes different ways when you're looking at presentations.
Okay.
Questions? Any?
Hi. So I'm going to give my perspective as a professor, not necessarily as a client. First of all, I commend you because this is a challenging place to present. There's a lot of distractions, right? There's noise, there's screens, there's a lot of people, so it's hard to kind of keep people's attention and keep people kind of on track with what you're saying. So I think that perhaps an area for improvement that you could do with your visuals, but also with how you're speaking, is to really use strong signposts to let people know what part of the presentation you're in, and kind of how to follow along. Because I had a little bit of trouble, I think I can guess what it is, but following kind of what your big unifying major idea is. You know, you risked kind of being like, and here's a good idea, and here's another good idea, and here's another good idea, rather than a big unifying strategy that makes sense based on the research. You did justify, you know, kind of bring in the research sometimes to justify the specific ideas, but you know, just something to keep in mind, that your audience has distractions and it's on you to make sure that the understanding is perfectly clear and that you come across as everything that you're recommending is strategic, is justified, and it's moving in a unified direction towards what the client wanted, right? So that's just kind of constructive. I thought your measurement and media plan was very strong, so that's very good. That's something that we always like to see. Yeah, and I guess I wonder if you could have built on the brand that Europa already has, right? It was almost like you were coming up with a whole new idea, but not really kind of emphasizing the branding and the positioning that it already has. But again, I also had the comment about the stakeholders maybe being upfront, because it just helps. It helps direct, right, the attention of where they're going. But you know, but I will state the obvious, which is that your presentation was very attractive. You're very kind of professional. I can tell that there was a lot of work behind it. So these are just constructive comments.